welcome Paul Richards to the show, former Labour Special Advisor. A very, very good afternoon to you.
Hello, Julia. How are you?
Very well indeed. Thank you very much indeed for joining. Although, unlike apparently half of our callers today, I don't have a swimming pool at home. I don't know. Do you have a swimming pool at home?
No, but I do live very near a beach, which is where I'm going. I'm going next.
Oh, I'm liking your style there. Now I think you might have won everybody. Paul, look, this should be. I mean, we are literally just approaching July. We're just approaching the 1-year anniversary of the election, landslide victory for Keir Starmer, the Labour Party, on Friday, and him becoming Prime Minister on Saturday. And yet, the Prime Minister's authority seems to have, not waning away, seems to have utterly disappeared. We are looking at his third major U-turn in office on things that he was standing absolutely by and defending at the time. Winter fuel allowance being cut for some 10 million pensioners. There should not be a national public inquiry into rape and grooming gangs. And also we needed to have cuts to disability benefits and personal independence payments. Absolutely stood by all of that. Now, U-turns on all of them, and he's still tomorrow facing the possibility of a major rebellion by 50 to 60 of his own Labour backbench MPs, even after completely cowering and caving in to the 126 total rebels. I mean, is he a Prime Minister that only a year after being elected is actually already on the way out?
I think after 1 year, the scorecard is very good on the international stage. So I think he's led the rearmament of Europe. He's got us 3 good trade deals, which no previous government has managed to do, including with the EU and India and, of course, the USA. He is respected on that world stage from other world leaders. And that, I think, has meant that he's been out of the country more than other prime ministers have been in their first year.
Oh, no, I know. I was a political journalist. No, I'm not. No, I was a political journalist when Tony Blair was Prime Minister. He was off at EU summits every 5 minutes in his first year in office. And his poll ratings were massively high.
So on the second part about the domestic agenda, I think obviously it needs to try harder. And I think the climb down today is a positive thing in the sense that the policy would have put people into poverty, and the Labour MPs have said, no, that's not what we want. And he's listened to that, too late as it happens, but he has listened to it, which means there won't be a big rebellion. So the original question was, his authority. Well, he stamped his authority down on the Parliamentary Labour Party today by saying, look, I've listened to you, here are the changes you want. Now get in the Labour lobbies, which is what will happen.
I'm really, Paul, I'm very confused by this. Okay, so say, my kid, when she was like 7 or 8 years old, and I said, you have to go to bed at 7 p.m. or whatever time it would be. And she said, no, I'm not going to go to bed at 7 p.m. I'm going to have a full-on tantrum. This never happened, by the way. But I want to go to bed at 8 p.m. And then I went, OK, you can go to bed at 7:45. Would that be me as a parent stamping my authority as a parent? Would that be me caving in to a tantruming child?
Well, I'm not sure the analogy stands up because the Labour MPs said, look, we've been listening to our constituencies, we're talking to people who are on the PIP payments who are worried, and we don't think this policy is going to get the objective, which is getting people back to work.
Sorry,
and getting
didn't the Work and Pensions Secretary, didn't anyone at number 10, Keir Starmer's an MP, do they not talk to their constituents about what the impact of the welfare payments would be? Given the fact that people have been raising that for a couple of months now, that wasn't an issue until the weekend when he was facing a massive defeat from his own MPs. Suddenly now he cares what those people think.
No, again, I think that's unfair. I mean, there is all the interviews he's given over the weekend, admitting failings, and they're quite actually refreshingly honest, I think, the sort of masochism strategy he's adopted over the weekend, saying, yep, I got it wrong, I think just shows that he can't treat Labour MPs as lobby fodder. He does need to listen to their expertise and their views, and that's what's happened. So this bill will go forward in a very different way than intended. It was something, I think, cooked up in the Treasury by civil servants. It didn't have a political sound.
Oh, no, OK, now it's got nothing to do with the government. I'm sorry, you say refreshingly honest. This is a man who says he regrets, he deeply regrets saying the phrase, we're going to be becoming an island of strangers over the immigration issue and lack of integration. But he says he regrets saying it, but he hadn't read the speech properly. He hasn't paid attention to the concerns over welfare reform because he's been distracted by foreign affairs. I mean, he's not being honest. He's admitting he's not up to the job.
I think it is honest, and it's refreshing.
He doesn't read his speeches, and he doesn't pay attention to public policy that his own government is pushing. And you
Well,
think
that's
he's
not
up
what
to the
he's
job?
saying, is it, Julia? But if he
He
turned up
was
and said, I mean,
distracted.
if he'd said 1 year on everything is going fine, it's all marvelous, you'd be all over him like a rash, wouldn't you? Because he would be lying. But his honesty, I think, shows that there's an ability for this government to learn from the lessons of the last few
To
weeks,
cave
to
in.
listen to
Well,
the
no, they
MPs,
don't learn. They
and
simply
to
give
make the
in when there's
policy
public
work.
pressure. Look, at this time, a year after Tony Blair was elected, at this time, he had a net favourability, bearing in mind there are people who hate him anyway and people who like him, net favourability of plus 34. David Cameron, as Prime Minister of a coalition government, didn't even have a majority, dealing with the aftermath of the economic crisis, the banking crisis. He had net favourability of -3. Keir Starmer, -54.
I think that's a reflection of the very difficult decisions he's had to take in the first
What
year.
difficult decisions has he taken? He's rode back on all the difficult decisions.
Well, he's had to sort out the economy, sort
Has
out
he?
the
Oh, is
levels
that
of
sorted out
crime.
now?
He's dealing with the small boats crisis that we talk
Is
about
he?
every week.
Those
And
gangs
I
are
think
smashed?
well, there are
Paul,
record
with all due
deportations,
respect, my lovely,
30,000 people.
Paul, I've known you a long time. I don't think even you think that anyone believes what you're saying is true.
Well, I think they do, and I think the fact is that we won a council by-election in Stevenage last week, where I was.
Oh,
People are still voting
well
Labour.
done.
There are signs that people are going to back the government because they know it's taking long-term decisions.
Have you seen the polls?
That is unpopular in the short term, but for long-term gain.
You know as well as I do. You know as well as I do. Everyone is expecting there'll be another U-turn on those tax pledges about working people in the autumn. We also know there's more than 40 Labour MPs who are concerned that their constituencies are because they've got a lot of rural areas, which they thought that was their Tory shires, but they've got Labour MPs now. They're planning to water down the inheritance tax rate on farmers. We've seen with winter fuel allowance, the pushback, he caves. The rape gang inquiry, pushback, he caves. Disability benefit, pushback, he caves. He doesn't stand for anything. He doesn't believe in anything. And you know as well as I do, the money that was supposed to come out of those disability benefit cuts, and it wasn't enough anyway. It didn't touch the sides of what is needed in terms of welfare reform. And yes, I've already tackled a Tory shadow cabinet or shadow member about how they put us into this mess in the first place. But that money's already spent. So we're going to have tax raises to pay for the cave-in to these rebels or spending cuts elsewhere. The truth is that Keir Starmer doesn't believe in anything, doesn't know what he thinks about anything, and he will give in to anyone who pushes him too far. He's not a leader.
Totally disagree with all of that analysis. He is
Which bit was untrue?
He certainly led to the defeat of the Tories in a Labour majority. And he's now pushing through a programme of getting growth in the economy, investing. Look at the way he saved all those steel jobs. He's got ourselves these amazing trade deals that businesses will benefit, will create growth in the economy. And that's how you grow your public services, is by getting growth. Waiting lists are down, interest rates have fallen. There's a lot of
interest rates have got nothing to do with the government. They're Bank of England independent decisions.
But it helps with the growth, and it helps businesses plan, and it gets all those things moving, which will be a long-term mission. This is a 10-year job. It can't happen after 1 year, but it has put down the bedrock, and he has now taken some of those hard decisions to get.
Why is it that so many people seem to be on manoeuvres in the cabinet? I mean, it appears, we're seeing the papers. Angela Rayner, the deputy leader, deputy prime minister, her sources saying her supporters saying they don't think he's going to be in office in even a year's time. We've got, some would say, Wes Streeting, the health secretary, seen by many who aren't Labour Party members as a potential leader, not perhaps by Labour Party members, but very much appealing to a certain constituency with his comments at the weekend over what's been happening over Glastonbury and these sort of anti-Semitic chants on the stage there, and the BBC footage there, are basically saying, Israel needs to get its act together and look at its own house in order over West Bank settlements. I thought it was very, very telling, that certain appeal. It does appear an awful lot of Labour backbench MPs and Labour members of the cabinet don't think that Keir Starmer is going to make it the full 5 years.
Well, we'll get a vote tonight, won't we? Which will be a very clear, resounding.
Well, tomorrow. Tomorrow is the welfare vote.
Sorry, Tuesday. That's what I meant. So I'm getting ahead of myself. And
don't wish
you'll
the
see
day away.
We'll see the numbers there in terms of the authority of the Prime Minister and the levels of support that he has. And I suspect it will dwindle away to the usual suspects, the hard left who don't like him anyway. But the majority of Labour MPs will back him. I think he showed decisive action on things like Glastonbury. I mean, they spoke out almost within hours.
Well, actually, he said something.
Tim Davey was on the phone, being berated by the cabinet minister Lisa Nandy within a few minutes of it happening, and I think heads will roll over that as well. So that's just a little example.
Can I just say that going back to the welfare, we're going to have an announcement from the welfare. So the Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall basically announcing this climb down and what they're going to do. The reality is, those benefit reforms didn't touch the size of what was really needed. We're still going to be seeing, even on what they originally did, now watered down even more, the benefits bill climbing exponentially. I mean, over the next few years, when we haven't got the 2.5% growth a year that we were predicted by the Labour Party once they came into office. We've got taxes rising. Pretty much everyone, including the IFS, expect taxes to continue to rise. That will dampen down even more our chances of growth. At the end of the day, Keir Starmer is presiding over a government where, frankly, the numbers do not add up, do they?
Well, your point about the welfare bill is, of course, the most important one, which is the whole system is broken. We're spending more on disability than defence. Yeah. The numbers have gone up by 10
he's choosing not to fix it.
90s. So you need to have a reform programme.
And he's choosing not to do that. And you think that makes him a strong leader?
Bill being announced later. But, all of that is predicated on getting people back to work. Anyone who can work should work. And we shouldn't have millions of people on benefits who could be working in some way.
But he won't do the reforms to make that happen.
Well, that's the reforms that are being announced today, isn't it? That's what they're going to be voting on tomorrow night.
So in a year's time, when people are back to work...
he won't be there, according to you. But I will eat my hat on your show, by the way, if he's not Prime Minister in 1 year from now. I think there's all this talk about, leadership contests. It's absolute garbage. Maybe there people are briefing and on manoeuvres, but as Tony Blair used to say, there's nothing ignoble about wanting to be Prime Minister. But there is only one Prime Minister and there's no vacancy.
All right, then. Well, you're going to need that hat as you head off to the beach in this weather. Paul Richards, thank you for joining us.